Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards. He is Commander Cockings.
He's got a Foley.
And today we are going to the 32nd century to discover something.
That things can be detached.
It's an age of discovery.
They did make many ships, in fairness, so that is kind of a true point. But we're going to discover, Stuart, the Constitution class.
Mark 53.
Possibly, yes. Or so many have reset back to 0 again. Yes, this is the official future Constitution class, which we've seen in seasons 3, 4, and 5. It is barely in seasons 3, 4, and 5, but it is notable in that it is the most classic looking. Years ago, we've done first looks at all these designs. This is a much more custom render, much more high res version using the tremendous Star Trek Online as the baseline. They do a wonderful job with those assets. So well done for them, and go get the ship in stow if you can. It's big, bold, and Connie-like. So this is our first proper full look, Stuart. So how you feel about the 32nd century Constitution class?
Looks like it's held together by rubber bands, and somebody decided to bend the nacelles sideways. I've never liked it. I don't like the way that it looks all banded together like that. Like if those supports aren't there, everything's just going to float away. I don't know. It just seems like something like a kid would make at his desk in school with like rubber bands and like erasers.
So you want detachable pylons as well as detachable nacelles, is what you're saying?
Sure. I don't know. It's just not a... What do you think of it? Like, let's be fair.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly keen on the fact that it's more Connie looking. That makes me happy on the inside. Not that... the lot of odd designs. This is just nice to see in general. At least I appreciate it's bold. This is not like anything else, right? It's a little bit vengeance-y with the kind of almost like a reverse. It has that negative space vibe in the middle. But it is certainly more distinctly Starfleet. This would be, showable to average members of the public, and they'd say, oh, is that like a Star Trek parody? Not knowing the future. But it's definitely close. Honestly, the only thing that truly annoys me is the scale, and therefore that the pod in the middle. I would love it if it was a smaller ship to that be more distinct bridge area, but given the absolutely incredible size, why does it need to be a separate pylon thing when that's already like 3 Defiance tall, 2 Defiance tall, and yet kind of vibes bridge module, but at that point it's just the whole one, right? It's thing's so big.
The bridge is in the center of that pod, not at the top. Yeah, I don't know. The scale definitely comes across with these because those windows, you can see all the little individual windows and how big this thing is.
And it feels reasonably balanced. There's a certain logic applied to that. That says a lot of non-window space with no details except some blue lines. But of course, those ships are very devoid of RCS thrusters and phasers. It's the future, that's absolutely true. But there's clearly no thought been put into what anything does. But then again, TOS, you could argue it's all inside the hull, which is part of the joy of it. So there is a certain... Both arguments can be made on that, right?
Mm-hmm. I love how this is also the Constitution N.
Yeah, I like it.
Which is great.
But this was interesting to do shots of, because I've always sort of known what it looked like, but this has been an interesting eye-opening. Like, oh, okay. There's some things I wasn't quite sure. But let's roll through some views, because I think this is not a bad view, and I like the rubber band analogy, but at least it's distinct, right? That's just me. The back view, I did not realise how it was detached from itself. So this was a surprise instantly for me.
Yep, I didn't either. And there's a decided lack of detail or anything on the top of that secondary hull pod thing. So I don't have a problem with futurized tech. I mean, it's got to be more advanced. It's 900 years in the future. Detachable nacelles, detachable secondary hulls. That I have no problem with that. A lot of people do. A lot of people think it's stupid. I like it. I think it's a good way to evolve technology. Like induction charging for phones and stuff. You just set them on a wireless charger and you don't have to plug them in anymore.
Hey, trains have magnets that let them go, not in I think, Japan, that don't touch the tracks. That would be magic for anybody even 100 years ago, right? And in fact, this is a non-detached nacelle ship, which I didn't realise necessarily that the secondary hull detached, but the nacelles actually connected. That's why I like it more, because there's a sense... I didn't even know... I thought it was actually a fully attached ship when I saw it originally. So
I did too. Yeah. The cell struts and that we'll get to when we see a better view of them, but I have things to say.
I do get a little bit... it's not Enterprise E. No, it is Enterprise E. The saucer in this view with if you separated the E, that's the imprint almost that would be left from the separation. So you could add a neck area here and connect it. There's a logical placement here. Maybe they could unrefit it to non-detachable hull. But I like that I sense a structure there that makes sense. It's not just a circle and then I like that shape combination.
There's a decided lack of, as you said, RCS thrusters, but also shuttle bays on these things.
Any functional detail that's not inside the hull, we assume.
Yeah, weapons, which is fine. I mean, the TOS Enterprise didn't look like it had weapons either. That was kind of part of the point, right? But there's just such a wasted space, like detail there. There's this big empty canvas you could put something on.
Well, yeah, and especially funny since these are very close to the studio assets from the shows, and these are multi-million-dollar episodes with multi-tens of thousands, hundred thousands of dollars per episode budget, if not millions of space CG, and that's the low detail they presented. Like, I know they didn't get any deals on, but buy 10 ships, a half detail, only 10 grand. It's like, no, these things cost tens of thousands each. And it's like, whereas you look at Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise, and the detail level was better on ships made, 20 years at this point, they were better. Like, undeniably, significantly better detailed. Even the ships of the week that Pierre related just looked better with better modelling in terms of detailing. And that's just the design work rather than the actual design of the Stowe version of this thing. But it's also giant, right? How would you want a phase wall turret the size of a skyscraper if this thing is already giant? Like, how would you rationale that? Although that said, giant phaser strips, multi-ring phaser strips, could look really impressive here. One phaser strip is actually like 3 sub-rings, could look really cool. But
well, they move way past phaser ring technology, and that's fine, but
into RCS torpedo technology. But the next view is the under. And I quite like the nacelle grill line things. Again, distinct. It's weird. I kind of like it.
I hate the nacelles. I don't like the way they look at all. And it does look like they were originally like straight up. And someone said, no, can you bend those down? Okay, literally bend. I think they might look better up. But I think it might also at the same time look too much like other iterations. And this is something kind of new and unique. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be cool if they detached and then turned for warp or something of the ilk. It intrigues me that, and this might also just be a kit bash thing. If you go back to the first picture for a second and look at that bridge dome, there's a certain design aesthetic, and then back to the third picture, the secondary hull dome and the bottom dome, very similar. Now, repeat designs isn't a problem, but when you look at this sort of view, the lack of creativity speaks because it's just 3 primary domes attached to a saucer with some stuff around it. Like, there could have been more there that was more interesting and more diverse. Now, maybe we're past design aesthetic in the 32nd century, but there's a lack of something there, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and there's a uniformity to each of those pods, which, again, if they had mixed it up a little bit, like you said, it would be more interesting. Plus, no detailing at all, like no pinstriping, no like Federation or Starfleet anything. I'm surprised this one had a registry, to be honest.
Well, I mean that's just, it came with the textures, but they all do. But just But again, I think it all comes together reasonably well. That's the thing. It's lots of weird things put together. I think they're reasonably well proportioned. It's not reaching its full potential, right?
And held together by rubber bands. Yes.
Now the next view, that gives me some big Starfleet vibes. I'm not sure why. Like, this reminds me of another ship with upslung nacelles, and I can't remember which one.
Just having the big registry there helps immensely. But again, the sense of scale on this is super impressive. Like, this thing is absolutely huge.
And yet the line between the Constitution registry and the nearest part in the mid dome, nothing's there. I mean, you can imply, maybe you can infer all the plates, like some of the big plates are all shell bay doors and fine, but it's incredibly empty design-wise goes.
Yeah.
And it's funny, now I'm getting slight Lost in Space vibes from the capsules, looking pods, almost like sort of flying saucers. And
there's a lot of flying saucerness going on.
All Galaxy class captain's yacht, the back one, also same shape, and disconnected. But it does hide oddly the disconnectedness in every view ish, because you assume it's connected in some other way. Like, I still don't necessarily, my brain doesn't necessarily say, oh, it's disconnected. It's like, it is, but. And of course, what are the giant blue lines? Because there are lots.
I was just going to talk about those. Like, when I mentioned saucer separation, I wonder if this thing is warp capable, and those could in fact be warp grills. Like they're also on the struts of the engines as well, the nacelles. So could it be that there is more integrated warp coil technology going on that we don't know about? Could this saucer actually separate, because it is already separated, and just go to warp as well?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, you're always asking the question, what are the nacelles doing? Because, other ships like the Delta Flyer, the going to warpness is so minimal for relative space of the ship. At this point in time, what if the nacelles are actually, giant trans-slip quantum drive units, and actually the blue things are all the warp standard configuration, and it's so basic tech now, as you say, that every part has redundancy and everything's predefined for warp. Yeah, that's interesting. Although, can you imagine the secondary hull warping in, just a little dome and two nacelles? It's like...
Still ginormous.
Yes, but a bit comical. Not conical, but comical. But again, I don't mind this view. Yeah, iconic, yeah. That's good. But again, I do like the ship as a general overall thing. Obviously, the design language is slightly flawed, but I think it kind of comes together in a distinct way. Let's ortho it up, Stuart. Which I've not seen a ship as an author before, so this is new for me. Top and bottom. I like the top.
I like the top too.
That is curved and sexy, but not too curved, not too sexy. Huh.
And the bottom's all right as well. And it's funny how a bottom and a top and a bottom view could be so invoke such different feelings. They should technically kind of be the same. I like the shapes that are going on in the bottom one, but I really prefer the top view. I think just because of the detailing and what's going on with the saucer, the bottom just feels literally so flat. But it also works as well. So I don't know.
And it's not flat, it is slightly curved. It's just, obviously, the orthographic hides that. I love the fact the top view is so Oconi. It's so in love with the idea of we're Oconi, and it hides, obviously, it hides the separation point, so it feels more whatever. But now I understand the nacelles, why they're so curved and weird, because they flow perfectly with almost perfectly with the nacelles. That's really kind of attractive. I've not seen that sort of design before. I like that.
Yeah, I like how they kind of angle back like this.
Yeah,
Like
this actually works quite well. I'm slightly amused by the bottom view. Looks like the Antares from season 5, almost, right? The way, but actually, if you could almost flip it upside down, and there's obviously no up or down in space. But if you did just move this upside down, that's now Miranda warp pod roll bar style, like just. And that's what it feels like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
New ship, and all you have to do, and to be fair, you could do this in CG, just flip the saucer and make it a roll bar variant, and you do nothing else to it. And it would probably look quite good as well.
Yeah. I'll learn the stats on this, like its size and its crew complement and all that. Like, I'm very curious.
I mean, yeah, at some point we'll do more breakdown-y when we've got more of the fleet of the section of the 32nd century, and be able to compare the scales, because I have no idea really, and then to other ships. How does this compare to the J? Right? I mean, it's pretty big.
The J is bigger, way bigger.
Yeah, but
still,
this is still mammoth though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I do like the lighting and the views of these things. Let's look at every other view.
All right. None of these are really bad. I really wish the secondary hull was connected to the saucer, first of all. But the front view I kind of like, but you can see what I mean by, like, it's almost like it was a die-cast model and somebody just took the nacelles and bent them in. They should be straight up.
It looks like spoons that you've gone.
Yeah.
The Matrix Kid designed this.
There is no Matrix Kid.
There's only Zool. So I'm confused actually. And this is why orthographic is so fascinating, that they shed light. I had no idea that bottom pod was so thin. In my head it was really much bigger, depth wise. I had no concept of that. It does entirely change how I'm feeling about it, to be honest. Like everything is so different in proportion I got. Or am I just, is that just a me thing, or did you think that as well?
That's just a you thing. I did think it was very thick at all.
There was far more. Like even the front view, it looks deeper, but that's just how the view works. Yeah, it's super thin. Like in this view, I wish the bridge dome section, the bridge hull section was higher, because for me the flatness is too much on the front. If that was significantly higher, maybe not to match the bottom view, but just like 30% higher, that would look better, because that disconnects the flat with the unflat at the bottom. I think that would probably benefit. Maybe even a second of those bottom pods in the reverse to kind of give it more depth. Don't know. I don't know. The top feels too flat to me, personally.
I'm still maintaining that secondary hull, the top of it, should have something.
Yes.
Even if it's just a little bit of a neck that doesn't actually attach, but like a wedge shape almost at the front there, that isn't attached, would still make it look way better in my opinion. But I really don't have any problems with these views.
That's good.
The sauce, yeah, I know. The saucer by itself looks like something you might see in a Independence Day movie.
I was about to say, I was just thinking that, yeah.
Attacking alien ship, yeah.
Yep. This feels more cohesive a design language than some of the other ones, which is nice. But let's roll on through some other views. Let's look at a close-up of the pods and of the detailing. A lot of blinkies or lights just around the hull. It might just be Stowe. Fair enough. But I don't remember Stowe having the need for 13 rows of blinkies that aren't blinkies, they're just white lights.
And also the scale of those windows, like you can see a lot of small little individual windows in each of those ends.
Are you sure it's not J-sized? Because, I mean, right? Huge.
Yeah. But again, the bottom of that top pod and then the top of that bottom pod, it's just, there's nothing there. There's no greeblies, there's no details, there's no anything. It just bugs me a little bit. Put something there. I don't know what. But.
I know they're not military craft, but everything on a spaceship would have a functional reason. So having 2.5 miles of flat space, okay. Now, yes, okay, as the plating could all be implied something, but also, why is there plating like that?
Just put a blue glow in there to imply something. I would like that.
Well, and that's the irony. Had they went the route of detachable nacelles or components need some sort of visible force field, then you could have had these like emitters either side to kind of give it a secondary support structure. That would have been something, right? Would have changed the vibe, of course. I mean, you could have totally had like if the size is so giant, like you said, sort of shoal bay, landing bays, designated, diplomacy bays for large auxiliary craft at dock where they're going to be limited to where the negotiators are. Some weirdly convoluted thing to have, but this is a super era, right, where these sorts of more grand ideas can come into play. But flat's good too. The next view though is the nacelles, very sword-like. The like you could add a laser sword with the inner grill if that was lit. There's a real vibe here.
Yeah, I don't like them. It just seems so empty. And I get it, it's future tech. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But I just don't like the way they're designed. They don't speak to me very much. I do like the Tron-like glows on them.
But they are Tronny.
Yeah,
they're
I knew you were going to say that.
Now the next view, this one I was really pleased to see because I had no idea there was an actual warp coil in the coils, because this is such a specific angle to be on, and this is part of why I like it. I like everything's visible and attached in a way that's very relatable. It's very subtle and it creates a nice light. But I quite like this. It's of course weird, but I kind of like this.
Yeah, it's a nice idea.
And it's very much like the J as well, which has those long.
Yeah. I just wish it looked a little bit better. But I like the ideas they're going for sure.
Although, yeah, those inner warp coil grills are also detached. Next view is a secondary hull, so we can appreciate all the details.
I mean, look at all those windows.
Although not that many on the secondary hull.
No.
And also, I know it doesn't need impulse engines, but that probably would have helped as well. Another colour, another visible something.
And it's interesting, because if those are windows, which they obviously are, and they're decks, that means there's like, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 decks between each of those lines. So you got a lot of decks that don't have windows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the saucer, I mean, 2 rows of windows per line. As you say, decks between them. What is that, a 200 deck of space saucer? I mean, this is mammoth.
That's why I want those stats. I want to know what's up with this shit.
But also, we looked at one of the other ships, and the windows were horribly big, and they clearly weren't windows. They were trying to be glowy white things. These are clearly designed windows, which this speaks to be the giant mammoth of the universe, which is Constitution class, right? I kind of see the logic. The big boy, as it were. Especially as 3 Enterprises were Connies, a la Picard, right? Different Connies, but 3. But it's cool, and it's a very clear view. Next view, though, is more of the bottom, of course. Just lets you appreciate the details a bit more. Hey, at least there's a under saucer blinky, and there's 2 red lights. Why are there? What? It's got 2 red lights, but no red and green. Oi, oi! I say. And the next view is the reverse forward view. Kind of cool though.
Yeah, there you can see those red lights a bit better, but.
And why are there lights in the nacelles? Dunno.
I do like the blue glows on those strappy things, but I just hate the way those strappy things look. I'm sorry, it just feels like it's books held together by like a belt.
First view, last view, first view. Again, still one of my favourite of the fleet because it is clearly trying to do something retro. It hides the fact that everything's disconnected. Pretty much in every view, right? Like this does not allow you to. Your brain can fill in the gaps, as it were. And yeah, giant. I mean, this thing this thing warped in at the scale it is, you would feel like, hey, Big Brother's here, and it's in a good way. And it's like, yes, we're secure, right? Gives a vibe.
Really should have seen more of it in the show, but a lot of people complained we didn't see the Enterprise. But I kind of like that they didn't reference the Enterprise in a way.
We want to see all the ships in Discovery more, so it's kind of an us thing.
Well, there you go, guys. I'll look at the 32nd Century Constitution class. What are your thoughts on it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let us know in the comments section. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell icon to all so you don't miss any content from us. And join us for lives where you can come and chat with us in real time.
And if you want to support what we do here, then Patreon's a really great way. Or join the channel, also on YouTube. Both are monthly, both are super appreciated, and both get access to our Discord with exclusive cool things happening all the time. Or one-time donations via PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, or Super Chat on live, which is us interacting with you guys. Normally they are shows that are about you guys and being part of a conversation. And you can throw in your thoughts, your curveball, and help support what we do here. And look at more really nice shots of ships like this that you won't find anywhere else.
That's right. So until next time, he is Commander Cocking.
He's Captain Foley.
See you guys later.
Bye, guys.